Hello, my name is Emma Tobias, and I have a few things I have to say right off the bat. One, my parents are having a fairly loud and long conversation about something. Either work, Trump, something to do with a television show about some sort of smart person who solves crimes in some sort of weird, strange, really overly elaborate way. I'm wearing a lot of yellow and I'm next to fake sunflowers because I wish it were the summertime. 3, my hair has hit mullet stage right now in the growing out of the pixie process, and it is very upsetting. And number 4, after 4+ years on BookTube, I have decided finally to do a monthly wrap-up series, or at least start a monthly wrap-up series. You know how some booktubers find making wrap videos to be fairly constricting, and when they break out of that, it's a freeing experience. It's sort of the opposite for me. I'm finding that doing this wrap-up video sort of thing, monthly wrap-up video, is going to add structure to my YouTube game and will probably make me feel more free. So, it's interesting. The first book that I want to talk about in my 2018 January wrap-up is When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. This is a book that everyone has read. So, my synopsis will be very quick and short. Basically, it is about 2 Indian American teenagers, one named Dimple, one named Rishi. Dimple, who starts off the novel, wants to go to coding summer camp. She goes to coding summer camp. Unbeknownst to her, her parents and Rishi's parents have sent him to coding summer camp as well, and sort of an arranged meet cute, and hijinks ensue from there. So, okay, basically, I liked this book. Basically meaning that I did like this book. I didn't love it. It didn't blow me away. It is a romantic comedy. It is predictable, but that's just the way of romantic comedies. From what I understand, it follows in a similar format of Bollywood movies and Bollywood films, and although I'm not an expert, and I really haven't seen any Bollywood movies, so obviously I'm not an expert, I have read lots of reviews that say this book follows that really well, so that's super cool. There are a lot of things about this book I really, really loved. I really loved reading about Rishi and his art and his love of art. I really like this idea of this book looking into expectations of your culture, of your family, and in this case, Indian American family and Indian culture, and the expectation of, or what you want to do, and sort of that balancing act of wanting to make your family happy and make them proud, but also do the things that make you happy, and then finding that middle ground. And I thought that was really interesting and really beautiful, and really the spark and joy of this novel was in that conversation for me. Number 3, I really like Dimple. I like that Dimple wasn't sure of herself. I like that Dimple changed her mind. I like that Dimple was racked with confusion about what she wanted to do with Rishi. I liked that. I find a lot of YA contemporary novels don't have enough of that, because I remember being a teenager and feeling so confused and feeling so unsure and feeling like, hey, I really like this person, but I also like other things, and I'm afraid that if I like this person, it's going to get in the way of the things that I also like, if that makes sense. And for Dimple, it's the fact she really loves coding, and she's afraid, in some part, at least I interpreted it this way, that Rishi is going to get in the way of her love of coding and her career path. And I thought that was really cool and done really well, and I really enjoyed that. And Dimple learns, spoiler, not really a spoiler, Dimple learns that she can do coding and do what she loves, and also date this person that she cares about, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, this book overall, I really liked it. I thought it was sweet. Didn't blow me away, but I thought it was sweet. The next book that I want to talk about that I read is Lair of Dreams, a Diviners novel by Luba Bray. This is the sequel to The Diviners, and that's part of the Diviners series, which is a series about the supernatural and the occult set in 1920s New York City. It's a great, great, great first book, and this is an even better sequel. So, this is what I'm going to say about this book, because I don't want to spoil it, but I want to talk about something that I really, really loved about this book. This was a 5-star read for me easily. Okay, so you have the movie Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and you have the series The Diviners, specifically Lair of Dreams. They're similar in a couple pretty big ways. One, they're set in New York City. 2, they're set in New York City during the 1920s, and 3, they involve the supernatural and magic, respectively. Maybe strike that, reverse it, depending on the order that I said the titles of these pieces of art. So there's a reason why I think Lair of Dreams is so much better than Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and that has to do with the fact that I think that Libra Bright does an amazing job of doing her homework and understanding the cultural and historical context of what she's writing about. J.K. Rowling, God, we love her sometimes. She isn't great about doing her homework. Look at the Ilvermorny situation. She completely botched that in terms of writing about Native American culture and indigenous peoples' culture in North America. Does a really bad job. And does a fairly kind of like lazy job in Fantastic Beasts Where to Find Them, meaning lazy because she doesn't really consider anyone's culture except for like white people mostly. What I like this book is that you at least feature a couple different people from different backgrounds in terms of ethnicity and nationality. You have a character who's Chinese American, her actually Chinese Irish American. You have a character who is black and who lives in Harlem. You're having these pretty important parts of 1920s America, 1920s New York City, and just America in general represented very, very well from what I understand, and are shown, and their cultures are shown, and the situation that they're living in is shown, and I think that's really, really wonderful. These characters have their weight in these stories. They're not side characters. They're very, very important in the stories, which I think is a really, really, really cool. This book also features a character who is queer, and you have a Chinese American character who is disabled in this book. This book is so wonderful and so fantastic, and arguably more fantastic than a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And I know most people don't want to compare them, and the only reason that I am is that I was actually listening to the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them soundtrack, because it works very well for this book, and I like to listen to soundtracks while I read. Normally I listen to Paddington because it's really good soundtrack. I can't talk anymore. Great soundtrack, but I thought I'd mix it up. And it just kind of, the comparison came to my brain naturally. So that is the kind of thought that I had regarding this book. So, moving on. The third book that I read this month is another book that a lot of people love, and a book that I loved so much. And that is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This book came out last year, and I loved it. I read not Little Fires Everywhere, that's this book. I read Everything I Never Told You, her first novel a few years ago for a class, and I love this book even more. If you don't know what this book is about, I'm not going to try to get into it because I went in this book not knowing very much, and I think that helped me in some ways because I was completely thrown in. So if you don't know what it's about, I guess and you want to read the Goodreads page, because I don't really want to say. But basically this book follows a family in an affluent neighborhood, a few different families living in Shaker Heights, Ohio, which is a fairly affluent, nice, very organized, planned suburban community. It's about the suburbs. There's so many things about this book that I really loved. Celeste Ng is masterful. I don't think anyone could argue that she's not. She's an amazing writer who has a fantastic job of struggling the ambiguity of humans. You have characters in here that you hate 1 minute, and then kind of understand where they're coming from the next minute. She does a really great job of creating gray characters. There's not a single black and white moment in this book. Everything is riddled an uncertainty of the morals of the situation, which I think is so interesting and wonderful. I loved it, and it made me think incredibly smartly, and it made me think incredibly deeply about what I was reading, which I think is always a good thing. There's one thing that I want to particularly address in this book that I really loved. There's so much going on in this book, and there are reviewers who have done a better job and will do a better job of talking about it, specifically addressing the issues of race in this book that are done so well. I will move you to Joss from Squibbles Reads, which I'm sure you follow her and have watched her review because it's really great. I really loved the element of photography in this book because I've never read a book that so perfectly encapsulated sort of my experience with photography. I started taking pictures at a very, very young age, and I was incredibly obsessed with it. And I had a mentor, and I was super serious about it, and I had a very similar path as one of the characters in this book and her relationship to photography. And reading that was painful in a way, because my relationship with it ended not in the way that hers did, or it doesn't really end, but my relationship did end with photography in the way that I used to be involved with it, but I just really loved reading about it, and I thought it was really weird and spectacular to find this little like moment in this book that I had never read something that quite captured my childhood, teenage love of photography. So that was really cool. The last book that I want to talk about that I read this month is another book that a lot of people have read. Like, a lot of people have read this book, and that is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Sorry. This is a book that has been turned into a movie called Love, Simon that's coming out soon. It is a book that I feel like every booktuber has read. It features a main character named Simon who is gay, and this book is sort of a romantic comedy meets coming out story, meets friendship story, meets families. It's just everything that you could possibly ever want in a book. It's incredibly sweet and pure. It made me very happy. I don't have a lot to say about this book that hasn't already been said. I really enjoyed it. I like that Simon screws up sometimes, but also things happen to Simon. It's a great intersection of him dealing with really crappy things that happen to him, but also sometimes doing crappy things. And I think that's really great to have a main character who is imperfect, and that's one of my favorite things in main characters. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about this book, but other than I really liked it, and I really enjoyed it, and I flew through it, and it kept me interested, and it made me awe a lot, and I really liked it. So yeah. So that was my inaugural January wrap-up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't talk too fast. Sometimes I do that when I get excited. Let me know how you guys liked it, if wrap-ups are my thing. I know I have done wrap-ups before, but I've never done a monthly wrap-up. So give me your feedback. And if you have any thoughts about this book, please let me know. Not this. It's late. Alright. Bye.